the Eucharist is just, he's just so humble. Mm-hmm. And the God of the universe like lets us come, and there's just incredible silence, and it's safe. And the Saint Elizabeth of the Trinity says that the language of the Trinity is the silent language of love. And so you enter and you're just like, whoa, like God, he is here and he looks at me and he loves me, but I'm like safe and secure, and he's not demanding and he's not judgmental and he's not here to fix me, but he's there. And so he's like, the Eucharist is just wrapped in silence. And so it provides us just a safety to come and be with God.
Poco a poco vamos a llegar. Somos peregrinos, and you know that's who we are. We make our way. Hey, hey.
Hey, I'm Father Mark Mary.
Hey, this is Brother Colby.
Hello, this is Father Innocent.
And I'm Father PT.
Hi, Brother Colby.
That was pretty good. Hello.
It's been a few months.
Yeah. Good to be back.
All right.
I'm glad you're here, Brother Colby. It's nice.
Glad you're all here.
Yeah. We're all here together.
When
right.
we're recording this, we have our, what do we call it, candidate visit? Nice one. So we have, do we say how many candidates, or we don't say that?
We can say it.
How many? We have 13 guys?
13 guys. Discerning.
13 guys in kind of their last little visit of discernment.
Oh, no. Oh, hit the button.
Their little discernment here for a couple weeks. Evaluations, meetings, whatnot. And so Father Innocent, or what's his name? Father Angelus.
What? That's his name.
Father Angelus is with those guys, so he's not here for this month's recording, unfortunately.
He's actually doing something this time.
Weird. That's awesome.
I feel like Father Innocent would have dropped him off and driven back.
Oh, I think we did that one time.
You've got that.
Last year you came in like middle. We recorded at night, which wasn't your money time, and you came from New Jersey and all these different things. And
I was tired.
Yeah,
but it's good to be here with you guys. It's kind of we prepare for this, but it's actually fun to be together.
Yeah,
which is good.
You prepared for this?
I mean, when we are like walking up to the moment, we're like, oh, there's so much going on. But it is actually
at the holy hour, right?
Yeah, and it's just fun to be together. That's my point. When we're actually on it, this is awesome.
There is a physical component to being able to do this, which I didn't anticipate, of just having to kind of push to make these things happen sometimes, you know?
Yes.
This is the second, two out of the last 3 times we recorded are after a late night arrival. I just got back from California. I landed at LaGuardia a little bit after midnight. But today we had a short house meeting. Thanks, Father.
Yeah, I was trying to read the room.
People have gone very short, and so I was able to take a nap. So I actually feel okay.
Were the Passions there?
No,
okay.
I don't allow Passions at the house meeting.
Oh, all right.
Actually, they have their own house meeting.
Ooh, at night?
You try to be like, no, I don't come to my house meeting. You give them a separate little.
Well, it's just easier.
Yeah, totally.
Just to focus on them and give them what they need.
Can you give a little like update on the mold situation we do or do not have?
The mold situation?
Because everyone's coughing in this house.
Yeah, I mean, there's allergies. There's allergies here. And we got tested for stuff. There's stuff that did come back on a test of the air quality of this house. So they were tested. We tested for mold. We tested for water. There's a leak in our house. There's a lot of water in the walls. So we're trying to figure out what that's about. The mold wasn't like crazy, but it registered. So we're just noting that.
What's wrong with you guys? Father P.T.'s making faces.
I'm making faces because this doesn't sound good. There's a leak. There's water in our walls. Like, these things don't bode well.
But usually. It's like, so this I just learned this today. Like, when you do one of these air samples, you take a sample from outside, right?
That's the test, or the how do you do this thing? Control. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
that was it. Yep.
And it was like less moldy inside than outside for the most part.
Well, yeah, that's what's interesting. The air quality of New York is actually not good. Anyway,
It's kind of like Father Innocent, less moldy on the inside than on the outside, right?
Yeah.
Less moldy on the inside than the outside. Yeah, that's true.
well, this guy's the crusty marshmallow. Is that what
I'm
we
the
call
other
it?
way. I'm like the
Toasted.
crusty marshmallow.
Sorry,
Crusty marshmallow.
it's toasted marshmallow. I didn't mean to say you're crusty, bro.
I have a question. How did there's a place we go to say mass, Father Mark Mary, that has a rating for their building? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
How do we have that happen here? Like, do I have to call the New York City Department of Buildings and like, 311? Hey, there's an apartment building and the friars, they live there, and
523.
yeah,
And if you don't get a passing grade, you're not coming, bro. I'm not coming anymore.
and it's a Mobley in the building. I don't know if they have like an efficiency rating.
and they're all coughing all the time.
I think we could say that. Anyway, there's a convent, and like right in the front, it has their efficiency. Yeah, their like electricity efficiency
It's some
rating,
sort of
whatever it
an
is,
efficiency
and
rating,
they got
yeah.
like a 97%. So when I don't know when that happened, but I was like, hey, nice job, sister. Congratulations. That's a good grade.
Yeah.
But now when I like walk down to St. Patrick's or something like that, I check out the other buildings, and they're rocking it compared to everybody else.
Yeah.
Struggle out there, but that's like a electricity thing. No, that's different.
I'm just trying to narc on you guys and make sure that
Bro,
the city comes.
We
and
also have
checks
to
you
take like a 2-week break on incense.
Yeah.
out. Ooh, because of coughing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's something. I think I'm allergic to incense.
That's awkward as a priest.
I know, but I'll take one for the team. I'll take one for the team.
How does it manifest itself as far as your symptoms? Like when you're
I feel it in my chest and
Okay.
my like kind of like a burning in my throat.
okay, but like, is there coughing? A lot of
Yeah,
coughing?
yeah.
Oh,
For
okay.
sure. Yeah.
I'll say if there's just burning in your chest and your throat, like we as a people could deal with that. But like if it's coughing, okay, maybe
Bro, like,
we'll sacrifice you.
but I think there's other guys as well. There's allergies, so we're just trying to take it seriously.
2 week.
It's just a little test to see if it makes people feel better.
It is interesting. I was with some people from your house last week at the Temporary Professor
You can name them,
retreat.
bro. It's all right. No, I'm
I
just
don't
kidding.
know,
I'm
like-
just kidding.
And there was a particular person from St. Joseph's who was very loud.
Sneezy?
Yeah, sneezy and coffee in the chapel. Coffee, if that's even a word. And like I just wonder if it's a St. Joseph's thing but the other person from St. Joseph's wasn't so much. But anyway, it's just one of those things where maybe it travels.
He sneezes like 5 times in a row
Yes.
and makes a really loud noise.
And clears his throat. This is interesting. Like just different noise dynamics in the chapel, especially when you're together.
Is your house quiet?
Yes, actually.
You got room for one more?
It depends who the one more is.
See,
Him.
Our Lady of the Angels, for the most part, it's I guess in the back it's not nice, but for the most part, you get a lot of space in the chapel.
Yeah.
Your own little wall.
Here, not so much.
Here you got to sit by people.
Yeah. And then we're at a place right now, there's only 6 of us. And so, there's 7 or 8 of us. A couple of guys are out more of the time. And so, yeah, you have space. You could,
Lay down if you want.
yeah, sure. Pray prostrate. Or, spread your legs a little bit. So there's room. If it's you that wants to come, there might not be room. Father Innocent, you're welcome. Brother Corey, you're welcome.
It's okay, buddy.
Yeah.
All right.
He's too tired.
Yeah.
No, I feel pretty good. I'm just not gonna fake laugh at your poor humor.
Oh, wow. Wow. Somebody's a little spicy. Somebody's a little spicy. A little spicy ramen.
I'm gonna speak this out loud.
Okay.
These guys over here, they make the early holy hour at 4:45.
These guys over here, Father
Innocent,
yeah.
Brother Colby, Father Angelus. Who else? Is it just you 3?
Brother
anyone
Angelo's
else-
been coming.
Brother Robert when he was here.
Brother Robert.
Brother Angelo at times.
Brother Robert?
Mm-hmm.
Brother Angelo goes occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man, it's very appealing. Just so you know.
It's awesome.
I've been thinking about it.
It's been inspiring, like hearing what you guys do, and like in my mind, like that'd be cool. But I just never have the willpower.
Bro, you do yours at night, bro. You do yours at night. We had a whole episode on praying at night, bro. It's awesome.
I know, but like, maybe get a little early time in the morning, and then like once again, it's all in my mind, and then whatever time rolls around in the morning,
You want to do it?
you want to do it.
Or you just want to think about it?
I mean,
Probably
right
just-
now,
probably
the
just
place
think about it.
Yeah, right now. Maybe in the future there'll be space for me to actually do it, but at least in the current state that I am.
We just don't like. this is I don't want to talk about my stuff on the podcast, but
Why not? I'm okay with that.
I realize my life, I just don't have a lot of margin. There's a lot, like
Correct.
it's full. And so I feel like that's the only part of my life I can control. Like to have a space where it's just like, all right, it's just me and the Lord, have a cup of coffee before and go in, and it's protected. But once that like the day starts, it's just there's just very little margin. So that's kind of timing is.
At least for me, it's nighttime. It's when we have apostolate. And so sometimes I'm getting to bed by like 10:30,
Oh, that's rough.
11.
That's true. You do the youth stuff.
And so trying to wake up in the morning isn't the easiest. I mean,
get that.
it wasn't the easiest even before I was doing youth work.
Let's just be honest.
Well, yeah. But it's not that much more now. Colby's just a rock star.
Yeah, bro. Kobe's a rock
Colby's
star.
just-
I think you've defeated sleep. You don't need sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who needs that?
Well, but Father Innocent just set a good example, right? It's like, well, if you want to make sure you get the most important thing in, do it at the time, and then you have like, there's no variables that are gonna mess it up as far as praying in the morning. You know,
It's more quiet.
it's
Way
more
more
well,
quiet.
it's more quiet if you get in the chapel before 5:30.
Before 5:30 in your house?
Well, because what time do you guys start the chapel at?
Oh, 4:45. 5:40.
4:45.
No, 5:45. We start Holy Hour at 4:45, and then start the chaplet at 5:45.
Well, you'll have a chaplet?
Yeah, so this is interesting.
Divine mercy.
I realize that people might not like the vocal prayer, but it's something we
You don't?
do.
No, I like it. I know.
I thought he was like,
Some
yeah,
brothers
yeah.
leave when it starts.
Well, it's funny because the reason why we still do it is because 2 years ago,
Yeah.
or actually maybe longer, 3 years ago,
When Father Emmanuel lived here, we started it.
because the community had asked us to do some extra fasting and prayer for the church and everything that was going on. And so it was good to have that extra prayer time. It was like during COVID, it was kind of crazy. But then also to have a communal way where we're going to offer this for the brothers in the church. And so there's something that brothers wanted to do together to say, okay, we're going to offer Divine Mercy Chaplet for this intention. And then it just stayed. So we offer it for the brothers, Father John Paul, the council, and it's just something we do for anybody who's there, like concretely. So we just kept it. But some people don't like it because they leave. And I mean, I don't necessarily like vocal prayer either, but
It's because it's hard then, because if you can't get in, if you want like an extra like 15 minutes,
Yeah.
you can't really do it. But at the same time, if these guys are in there every day for the extra hour, you gotta like, you guys kind of can do the chapel whenever you want. You know what I mean? I feel like
well,
I feel like that's fair. But I'm just I'm seeing if this is because and part of this is recognizing different people's needs are different and whatnot, and I tend to need more sleep than other people. But seeing if it certainly is an appealing idea. Seeing if that's the Lord's invitation. I was thinking about it during our little what's the retreat with Sister Miriam, whatever that was called. When the postulants just had a little retreat with Sister Miriam and Michelle Benzinger, I was just praying with that. So we'll see what happens.
yeah.
I hope to do it. I think it'd be a good thing.
Yeah, beautiful.
We'll be happy to have you there.
I think Jesus would be happy too.
Yeah.
And there's nobody in there who's like, like whispering prayers or anything, right?
There's nobody whispering prayers, and no one really
Or
generally
sneezing.
has
Oh.
happy feet, or what do you call them?
Active toes.
Active toes. Yeah,
There's no
there's no
active toe.
active toes, which is
Y'all have prayer whisperers? I'm just like,
We've
there's
had a prayer whisperer.
we've had a
a
prayer whisperer, bro.
there's a whole curtain like just being, you
But
know.
we had a prayer whisperer. But what was hard is that the person didn't know that they were a prayer whisperer.
All right. And can
And-
you give an example of like whispering prayers?
Maybe Father McGree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't really whispering.
And it wasn't, yeah. And at that point, it's very silent. So any, Then you talk to him. I tried to be like, hey, and one other. There's actually two in this house that have a propensity towards that, and just like the self-awareness is tough.
Yeah.
How about, do we have any clanging rosaries in the morning?
I don't know. Do we?
I don't think you clang your rosary, but you pray the rosary in the morning.
You're pretty good.
Some brothers say that I do.
Clang it?
Clang it. Just trying to get people to pray it.
Wake up, everybody.
Wake up.
Dude, what about sighs? Like, or
Oh, we had some sires. Yeah, I have to be careful because I'm a sire too.
I don't have a problem with a sigh.
no?
It's like you're like sighing every 15 minutes or whatever it is.
So,
I mean,
so there was a somebody one place I lived at.
In the past 2 years, one place I lived at.
Yeah. We like just like sitting down for holy hour. It's quiet and
Like how
and then,
consistent?
like 5-10 minutes later. But then like it's almost becomes like background noise and then and like, okay, what's going on, dude?
My man, like
And so
sometimes you just, this is the only way to, like, I was walking out of the office today, like I had kind of a busy morning again, just like kind of holding all the pieces together. And I sighed like twice in a matter of 30 seconds. And Brother Mariano was like, "You're right." I just know I'm all right, bro. I just needed to sigh it out. It's sometimes all you got.
Yeah.
We had a coffee sipper. Remember the coffee sipper outside the chapel before they'd enter?
Oh no!
That gets me.
What time?
Like
In the morning. In the
4:45,
morning.
4:50. Like right before they come in, it was so consistent. Right outside the door, and just like the coffee was hot, so it's like.
But like,
And then you hear him put it down, clink, and then pick it back up.
It's so funny, like how those little things can get you. Like you're supposed to be in chapel, like turning your heart towards the Lord, and then somebody's like right back out of that pocket of prayer, But anyway,
I could,
Then you
you
have
could
the
probably
ice cream
change the
truck.
subject. I actually just keep going. You
Oh,
start
yeah.
noticing
This
these
could be the
little
whole
things. You're like,
episode.
oh man.
What were you saying? The ice cream?
The ice
truck?
cream truck. Whenever you hear the music, you think of holy hour. Then, so it's a positive side. Right?
But
And
I
ice
do-
cream.
I do think about what it would be like to like take a like a pellet gun and shoot the speaker. That's crossed my mind before.
or change the music.
Oh, I thought you were gonna shoot the zipper.
No, we're not. No. I was talking about the ice cream truck. Like break the speaker.
That was a little aggressive.
we could end on this.
Yeah.
But yesterday, so we're recording. It was Mother's Day yesterday.
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful day, and there's a party basically in the building next door. Like for whatever it is on 156, the one that's right to the church. So in their little back area there, which is their speakers were facing our chapel, and it's like maybe 10 feet away, 15 feet away, like from the window. And it was just loud. In particular, I think it was bachata, merengue playing or whatever, all these different things. Huh? You're living that. I know, but it was a couple things funny. There was a brother in the chapel, I'm not going to say who, he's like, I'm going to dance during holy hour. And like he started like to sway back and forth. I was like, bro, at least if you're going to dance, like dance on beat. You know what I mean? But there was like a temptation to take a gun and shoot the speaker. The speaker. An inanimate object. To tell them to be quiet.
I said the speaker too, for the record.
Yeah, no, I know.
Very clear.
Because he was
Speaker.
not the barbecue attendees or anything like that. We're not condoning human violence. But just say, hey, a little bit of quiet, please. But
Love a quiet, please.
yeah.
All right. Well.
No, the early morning holy hour was a good like segue to our episode.
Yeah. But I gotta see what we're gonna do here. Okay. Well, I feel the desire and the invitation,
We
That's
could
beautiful.
whisper the
but I also
Divine
have
Mercy
limitations.
Yeah, we can.
I don't have no, but it's like it's only when you're trying to get in for the only the 10 minutes or whatever, extra 15 minutes.
The postulants feel the fact that they can't go,
Yeah.
and so it's pretty consistently brought up. So it's always I like the fact that they can't go. Like they have to focus just on our prayer life as it is.
It's more quiet.
It's true. That's not why it's happening, but it's true. So we're talking about today. We're talking about the Eucharist, but I just want to give our listeners a heads up. So we're gonna have 4 episodes, and then starting after that, which would be in July, I suppose, the first episode of July, we're gonna start an 8-part series on The Fire Within by Father Thomas Dubé. So that's excuse me, The Fire Within, Father Thomas Dubé, and it's a book by Ignatius Press.
There's a button.
I was hoping the new add-on for the button would be you just like kind of disappear from the floor below.
Hey, we're back. We're focused.
Wow.
I'm gonna. Never mind. But it's with that book and that whole series, we're really going for it, and so it's definitely not prayer 101. It's pretty serious, but I think that's something that has to be talked about, and that's kind of the thesis or the proposal of Father Dubé as well. So The Fire Within, amongst the books that we're going to recommend you get to work through it, I'd put this pretty high on the list. So that's we'll keep plugging it as we go along. So what we're talking about again is as this episode's coming out, probably depending on what's going on in your diocese, or the day before, just the Wednesday before Corpus Christi, And so I think I know all of our lives have been totally reoriented and taken a totally different trajectory because of our encounter with Jesus in the Eucharist. And so just wanted to just talk about that. And I don't know, I kind of want to just throw it out there to anybody if you guys have any initial just thoughts on your own relationship with the Eucharist in general.
So
Jump in.
Yeah, Jesus is awesome, and
True.
the Eucharist in particular. And I'm just amazed. Eucharistic amazement? No. I'm amazed, just like it's been a relationship in a real way, just like how it's grown. Just my relationship with the Eucharist. And I think we're going to get into some like personal testimony and stories and stuff like that. But it's just, anyway, sometimes I try to take a step back where I'm sitting before God. And like, once again, I don't even like, what does that mean? The creator of the stars and sky, like just everything that I ever desired in my, like for anything is before me. And just, he's here in a piece of bread. You know what I mean? Like, and he loves us this much, and he desires to be this much, obviously with humanity, but in particular with me. It's just always something that I don't know what to do with. And that's grown over time. Layer on top of that, now the gift of the priesthood, where like these nasty, musty, crusty hands, are able to confect the Eucharist, which is once again just like, what does that mean? Like what are we talking about here? And so, and yeah, like the church gives us language, and the church gives us understanding about these things, and like we take just small, humble steps towards understanding these things. But at the same time, there's just a big mystery here. And it's okay to be in the mystery, but even more so, I think it's just a beautiful thing to take a step back and just to thank God for the gift of himself in himself, right? To give thanks to God for desiring to be with me in this way. And once again, Father Mary, I think you're the one who kind of coined this thing, but he's beautifully creative, or maybe not specifically that way, but like he could have chosen any other way to be with us. But he desired to be with us in the Eucharist so that we can eat him and to have him like as presence, the bread of presence for a consistent time until eternity, right? And so, yeah, so I guess just the word is amazement, in particular with the Eucharist, but just it grows over time as I just sit with him more, and as I allow him to seep into my heart, and just to kind of dance with that mystery as it's before us. So
Dance with the mystery, man. Come on.
Right.
I feel like my whole parish mission talks that I've given in all of your presence our talks are so Eucharistic oriented. So I feel like I could just give my parish mission talks here in some capacity. So I feel like I say the same things all the time. But I was just at a recent parish doing a Sunday Mass, and it was like the Bread of Life discourse, which was in the past couple of months. And I think we just take it for granted so much. Like our lives are so Eucharistic and are the gift of our own prayer, but it's very Franciscan, right? So we just live and breathe this. And I think I just said in a homily, like what we believe about the Eucharist, right? And I obviously am very moved by it, and it's kind of Catechism 101 about the sacraments, and just preaching the truth about this. So the Mass goes on, and I'm outside, like just greeting people after Mass, and there's like so many people that came up to me, like, Father, like I forget. Like I forget what the gift of the Eucharist means. I forget like the why and the like the what of the Eucharist, like what Jesus actually desired, like all these different things. But like constantly people were like, I just forget. Like I'm so happy you just reminded us about the gift of the Eucharist. And it wasn't like something profound. It was just what we believe. And so there's something just really beautiful about that. Is like I wish I could just talk about it all the time, because I think we have like spiritual amnesia. We forget just God's plan of salvation and the climax of the Passion and the Last Supper, and just that he's just with us always, right? And like I love to talk about Emmanuel, that it's like God becomes incarnate, and then also because it's like God with us, he wants to be close to us, and then like again the gift of the Eucharist, it's the same reality, it's the same grace, right? And now like I will be with you always, like Jesus. That's not just words to Jesus. Jesus actually and absolutely gives himself to us. And so he's always there, right? And so, I mean, it's just beautiful, because I don't think we talk about it enough. We kind of like, we forget, we kind of maybe like desensitized to the reality. And so I'm just excited to talk about it, because it's all real.
It can be now, or it can be, we can come back to you. It would be great if you just shared some of what you do say for the sake of the listeners who could use those reminders.
Yeah,
that seem
I would
be
love to.
helpful in the
Yeah.
parish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would. We can definitely.
We'll come back to it.
Yeah, Brother
Great.
Colby, if you have any thoughts, and then I can jump back in.
Just his presence was talking. I can't mention any names. Postulant? Was it Postulant? Mark? I'm going to say it.
Okay, Mark.
Watch the mark.
So we were talking about getting ready for this today, and just thinking of what he said when we had the plumber come in, and he's like, "There's something about this place. I just can't say it right now. I just don't know what it is." And he even went home, and then he called back. I know what it is. You have Jesus in the Eucharist. So people experience his presence here, just Mark explaining that. Just thinking of myself being in every room in the friary, he knows exactly where every one of us are at, wherever we're at. Just knowing where we're at, interiorly or exteriorly, it's just beautiful. I went for a walk yesterday, a long walk. It was like 3.5 hours, just dumping some stuff out and giving it to him in my heart. I just needed to go back and sit in the chapel with him. And a half hour was better than a 3.5 hour walk. So, but anyways, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
No, but it's beautiful. I mean, like just the remembrance of like Jesus, and we sometimes can take it for granted, but like he's with us. I think sometimes, at least speaking personally, you kind of forget that you live with Jesus. That's a pretty big deal. You know what I mean? Like, and so being religious for almost 15 years now, it's just like, oh yeah, we'll shuffle downstairs, sip my coffee outside the chapel loudly, and then hop in, you know, where like, wait a minute, let's take a step back, right? Like Brother Colby's point of, oh yeah, Blessed Sacrament's here, and he knows my heart, and he desires to speak with me. But like, it's just the remembering of the gift that we have in the Eucharist, but also the privilege that we have as specifically as religious and men who are called to live this way, that we live with him, you know? But this, once again, just bringing the reality like to the forefront of, I guess, it's God, you know, and he desires not just to dwell in the tabernacle, just in a chapel, but like ultimately in our hearts through that specific presence. And so,
yeah, beautiful. It's again, it's like a simple invitation in reality, but I think when I go preach about the Eucharist, it's just like helping people like to take a deep breath and like, let's just take in and receive what's going on. And I always say this, like in formation, like, can we be available to the mystery of what's going on? Like the way that Jesus is loving us right now. Right. And so, for instance, again, you talk about Emmanuel, like that's the name of Jesus. Jesus becomes, you know, incarnate in the womb of the Virgin Mary, and Jesus is like, it's like fire. He just deeply desires to be with us, to live in relationship with us. God doesn't do that from far away. He comes so close, right? And so it's, again, Jesus dwelling in Our Lady. She's the perfect example. And then he's flesh, right? He's real, and all because he wants to he just wants to come so close. And he wants to be held and seen and loved, and to love us and see us back. So our humanity is like, it's almost shocking, right? Because God, again, our world is so crazy, and humanity is so fallen, and there's so much brokenness that God would want to take on all of that, right? So this is the way I love to talk about it, is that like seemingly broken and insignificant realities of our flesh, Jesus says yes, or the Father says yes. I want to come completely into that and take on humanity, so I can heal your humanity from the inside, right? Like as a man, like so close. And it's the same thing, brothers, because it's the God with us. It's the movement, right? And it's his own life. And again, 33 years of being close and getting dirty, and like, I love the fact, like when he heals, he touches, he spits. He, like Sister Miriam talks about that. Like if anybody else but God would do that, be like, well, why are you touching my tongue, man? Like, you know, like spitting and like putting stuff in your eyes, putting fingers in your ears. Like that's weird. Like, but he becomes so close, right? And that's how he wants. Again, he kind of assumes it, like all the weakness in himself, right? And then it's the same movement for the Last Supper in the Eucharist. He's like, he takes a seemingly insignificant piece of bread of wheat and water, right? You can't get like more poor and more simple and more little. And again, what looks like just super insignificant. And Jesus says, yes, like I'm going to I'm going to give my whole self to this. This is my, like, he takes a piece of bread and says, this is my body, which will be given for you. Right? In the gift of the Eucharist, that it endures and he gives himself, right? So we believe every time this happens, do this in memory of me. It's the mystery and the life of Jesus is given again, right? And then we place him in a tabernacle, right? The living bread gets put in a tabernacle. What seemed like, then you expose him, and it, like what seems so insignificant and so fragile and so small is the God of the universe. Is Emmanuel himself, is love himself, and he like Teresa of Avila says, he traps himself in a gold box and he waits for you. And then on the altar, in the weak hands of a priest, I say like these simple words over a piece of bread, and the God of the universe obeys my voice and comes, and Jesus comes into this piece of bread, and then he's given to the people to be consumed, and to become so close to us, right? Like this is how God loves. He wants to give himself to us, right? And so, I mean, it's beautiful to know that it looks so small and so humble and so insignificant. And then the last thing I usually say is that your life can be like seem the same way. Like our lives are insignificant. Our lives are just little and poor, just like a little piece of bread that seemed like, like it just seems so simple and so like unvaluable. But Jesus can do the same thing for us. Like if we receive him into us, he can transform us as well. So it's like a whole Eucharistic life and a Eucharistic spirituality. And people are just like, whoa, like it's just so beautiful to have perspective. Like what do we actually believe and what really happens and who's in the tabernacle? I could go on, but that's kind of usually some sort of shtick when we talk about the Eucharist.
Yeah, beautiful. You got something, Brother Colby?
I was just thinking about just watching you priests at the altar and just reflecting on that a couple months ago, just how profound a gift it is to have the priesthood and the Eucharist together. And Father PT said earlier, we take it for granted. We take our priest for granted as well. But see you, Father Mark Mary, come into Mass after a late night. It was beautiful. I was like, oh, is Father Mark Mary here, or is that he shows up? It's like, didn't want to miss Mass. Yeah. So it's very beautiful. So I thank you all and all the priests that have helped us in our lives. And then just thinking about the priesthood in our baptism, we get fed and we receive Jesus, and it's just so connected that like Mother Teresa, we become the hands and the feet, and we go out into the world, and she says, let the people eat you up. It's like, because we become one with Jesus. And in one particular moment in adoration, I was praying for a man who was somewhat struggling walking with a walker, and I asked the Lord to help him. I was like, you help him. It's basically, you're my hands, you're my feet, you do something, because I want you to participate in my life. And so, yeah, it's just beautiful that we get to live that.
Nothing.
You just opened the
I
catechism,
know
bro.
it was looking promising, but not right now.
It's okay, buddy.
Sorry.
Guess you're gonna have to listen to Catechism in the year if you want to hear anything from the Catechism.
Wow.
Mike. Here, what's a couple of thoughts is, I don't know if you guys are experienced this at all. It's sometimes it's hard to put words to it in a way that feels like adequate, and I think I guess that's okay. That's the reality, and that doesn't mean you don't say anything. But and again, I think that's just I recently gave a talk at this group out in California, and it was maybe a B- at best. Wasn't my best ever. But I don't really have. It was an 8:00 at night after dinner thing to like adults. I haven't quite figured out that talk. But
Okay.
you got to keep it pretty. I think you got to keep it pretty light.
The after dinner talk?
Yeah.
Depends. It depends what you're talking about, who you're talking to.
Because Father Innocent and I did one together, same thing, but down in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the combination, the two people, the community thing,
It was fun.
they all we were like all best friends afterwards. This one a little less, but I was on my own. But
You're never on your own.
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel.
Sorry. Please continue. You're trying to make some points, and I'm just
So it's all right.
being myself.
But one of the things to talk about is just it was a little bit of a testimonial thing, and right for all of us, we're not living this life principally because of we had some encounter with the poor and we wanted to help or whatever, or we had some difficult experience in the world and we wanted to flee it or whatever. I think we all fell in love with the Lord, with Jesus, and particularly the Eucharist, and it all of us from very, very different backgrounds and place of life. And it was just the pearl of great price. It was, the only thing that made sense was to give our entire lives to the contemplation, the service, the being close to the Lord, particularly in the Eucharist, right? And I think I think it's central. We do talk about the Mass being the heart of our life. It's central to our prayer life, to our spirituality. It's the ultimate source of any grace that people experience through this podcast over the years. It all goes back to Jesus present in the most blessed sacrament, right? And this isn't just it's just this is what we've seen, this is what we've touched, this is what we experienced. He is there and he is good and it's real, and going to him with real stuff actually has a real effect. And I just in particular, just to use this kind of language of Jesus is, not if he is the source of all that is good and that all that's true and all that's beautiful and all grace. And it's how many different places do we go looking for answers, looking for support, looking for protection, looking for consolation? And it's let's just let's begin with him,
Mm-hmm.
let's go to him. And again, it's so good and so real. And I don't know, I know we all love Jesus in the Eucharist, and he loves us there, more importantly. And just want to encourage people to go to him and to let him care for us there,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm struck by, I heard a priest once say at IPF that Jesus in the Eucharist, or being in a chapel with Jesus in the Eucharist, is the safest place in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm struck by that. And there could be a variety of different reasons why people might experience just this safety and be in the presence of Jesus. But one thing I just feel in my own heart that there's something about the world is not safe, and my heart often is not safe, and my mind is often not safe. There's so much and so we need God to be safe. We need the presence of God to be a safe place where I can go and I can be drawn and I can be myself and I can be poor and weak and to be able to be with him. And so I'm just struck by that. This is my desire for all of us and for the people listening, that the Jesus in the Eucharist could be the safest place in the world. The Mass could be the safest place in the world for us. So we could experience God in this way and the humility of God. And one thing that's just really important is the silence. It's profound. And again, words don't do this justice, but Jesus is perfectly there. Body, blood, soul, and divinity. The fullness of God is there in this tabernacle, or when we expose Jesus. But he's just wrapped in the silence of God. You don't come and God doesn't kind of control and demand and yell and sometimes as you just experiences, right, with authority or fathers or whatever, there's just can be a lot of noise. But the Eucharist is he's just so humble. Mm-hmm. And the God of the universe lets us come, and there's just incredible silence, and it's safe. And the Saint Elizabeth of the Trinity says that the language of the Trinity is the silent language of love. And so you enter and you're just whoa, God, he is here and he looks at me and he loves me, but I'm safe and secure, and he's not demanding and he's not judgmental and he's not here to fix me, but he's there. And so he's like, the Eucharist is just wrapped in silence. And so it provides us just a safety to come and be with God. It doesn't have to be like that. Right? Like, and so I don't know, it's like a mystery, right? And I'm trying to get out a mystery of like the silence of God or the humility of God. But there's something about that. It creates a space where I can come and be with the Lord in the Eucharist. And I can just be received and loved. It reminds of Our Lady, like these moments of intimacy. But the Eucharist is silent. Like we walk by the chapel, Jesus, like it's just silence. Like Jesus just looks at us and loves us. So anyway, in a world of a lot of noise, there's a profound mystery there.
Yeah. And it's funny because like at our youth program, we do a little rotation as far as different things that we do with the kids. So like a night would be Lectio Divina, another night would be like Eucharistic Adoration, but specifically leading them through ARRR or some sort of like meditation where they're able to kind of have language to speak to Jesus, right? I remember I was talking to one of the kids after, and because like we'll lead them through prayer, and then after that we'll leave some silence. Anyway, because somebody said it's dangerous to leave people in silence, like not give them any direction, you know. And so one of the kids says, "I don't like when it's quiet." To me after, it's like, why? It's because like all these thoughts come up, and I just don't like them. It's like, well, what are you gonna do with them? It's like, I don't know. Like that's why like I get up and leave and go to the bathroom and stuff like that. It's like, no. Next time it happens, stay. It's like, what? Stay with my thoughts? Yes. Yeah. And talk about them with Jesus. You know, like, hey, Jesus, I'm feeling anxious right now. And it's beautiful just because, like, once again, like we'll lead them through prayer and like just noticing their hearts. And as we've done before, or people may be familiar with we spoke about this a couple episodes ago, right? ARR?
Yeah.
Yeah. But just like the simple acknowledgement of like, hey, this is what's happening. But that only happens in the silence is what I'm trying to get at. Like because we're constantly bombarded with noise, images, thoughts throughout the day of like, I got to get these things done. Now we're able to quiet down, settle down. And almost it's beautiful how like the Lord draws out these specific thoughts or things that he wants to touch or to speak about or to heal. Another time just in a retreat, somebody's like, hey, all these like weird thoughts from my past keep coming back. Pray to the Lord about that. Talk to him about it because there's a reason, you know? And so just to also to say, if you're sitting in silence in prayer, specifically before the Blessed Sacrament, and like these things come up, okay, like the Lord's doing something, and just to speak with him about it. Because once again, I think a huge thing is that sometimes we may have the misconception, or at least have had the experience with, as you mentioned, just authority being difficult or something in our past that is a part of a cross that we carry and we're wounded. But the Lord is not that like heavy-handed father. Like he's not that authoritarian. He is gentle, he is loving, he's kind, and he is for you, you know? And so the things that come up may be difficult in the present moment because you don't want to look at that specific thing, but the Lord wants to look at that with you. So that way he can just speak of his gentleness, his kindness, his mercy for you. And it may be difficult to accept at that time, but I think it comes up through that silence, but it's specifically like in the Eucharist, because finally Francis talks about like hold back nothing of yourself for yourself and give yourself completely to him who gave himself completely to you. Something along those lines. But sometimes we want to hold back those things. Like, I don't want you to go there, Lord. But in the Eucharist, like this is my body given up for you. So can these specific thoughts that I don't want to hold, that I want to hold on to, can we Eucharistically, if you will, give them to Jesus and say, okay, Jesus, this is like the most intimate or the most like shameful or the most like tender part of my heart, but it's given up to you because you've given yourself completely to me. And just approach it that way. It may be helpful because once again, he wants that because he's given everything to us and desires to give us everything in communion with him, but even more so in relationship. And so.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Very beautiful, Father PT. Just thinking about silence, like how uncomfortable it can be. I remember particularly saying to Jesus when I was just struggling in my mind, it's like, if you're God and you know all things, you see everything around me, you must see everything that's in me too. And then the scripture verse came to my mind. A light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. It just consoled me so very much. And then just looking at the crucifix and how much he loves us, that he died. He suffered, he struggled so that he could be in that tabernacle. He died so he could be in that tabernacle, so we can go there and give him all the stuff that rises up in our hearts. And then when we give that to him, we see how beautiful we really are in his image and likeness. It's just so beautiful. And in particular, I just wanted to mention to people who may have struggled with believing. I didn't believe when I first went to Adoration. Not at all, really. And Scripture and the church teaching all go together. And just sitting there in his presence and reading John chapter 6, going through this and reading the word, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus is not going to lie to us. Just sitting with that, just being with him every Monday for an hour, eventually turned to an hour every day, because I truly believe the presence of Jesus is peace. Like, this peace just drew me there. And I couldn't figure out where else this was coming from other than what he was saying, I am the bread of life. And there's the monstrance there reposed in the Blessed Sacrament. And he gave me the gift of faith. So he'll give it to everyone if they ask for it. But Jesus is only available as much time as we're available to him. We have to make that time to be available to him. He's always available. We just got to make the time to be available to him. That's what I have to say.
Yeah.
Just sacrificing our time is well worth it.
So like waking up at 4:30.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't always like that.
Is that what time you guys get up for the 4:45, 4:30-ish?
Nothing good but
Before-
A
5.
little earlier.
Gosh.
Earlier.
All right, we'll see, Lord. One of the references Father PT was making to is something that, what are they called? The Livingston Manor Sisters?
Yeah.
What's the name of that?
Sisters of Bethlehem.
Sisters of Bethlehem, which is different than the Hermits of Bethlehem.
Right.
Okay. When Father Isaiah and I made our first little solitude retreats there back as first year TPs, first year temporary professed, that was one of the just the little guys. When we met with like whoever the mother was or something like that, and she's the one who had this concept of the creativity of love, right? Because Father Isaiah was like, so, sister, it's so easy to pray here, blah, 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 this and that. How do we do this when we go back to like the South Bronx? And she said, brother, it's the creativity of love. When you love someone, you create a way to be with them. And for her, it was like this invitation, like, hey, if you love Jesus, you're gonna have to like create space to be with him. But that's kind of how that's really spoken to me just over the years is particularly just again like the creativity of our love is a response to the creativity of his love first, right? That it is a Jesus present in the most holy sacrament of the Eucharist is like the expression of his creative love, him creating a way to be close to us and be near us. And there's just kind of listening to you guys, I do think like maybe there's I'm just going to kind of highlight two potential graces. First, for those who do experience, who are kind of wrestling with the experience of kind of like a lack of meaning in life, or it seems so kind of like blah, or it just seems so like ordinary and without maybe direction, meaning, purpose, things like that. Is because I think there is something to the way in which the Lord does give himself to us. So humbly and so simply, right? In the ordinary bread and wine, and that in the form of bread and wine, and I think this really is the invitation of like a Eucharistic worldview, right? Of finding the Lord and finding the depth in finding the extraordinary in the ordinary, finding the grace in just kind of the ordinary things, and right, like the bread and the wine, like the form doesn't change. They become the most extraordinary. Why? Because of God's presence, right? Because of the touch of grace, and right. And so, obviously in the sacrament, it's a particular what's transubstantiation. There's something different, like it actually changes. But like just looking at our life and the way in which, sure, these certain things can be studying, doing this, whatever, going grocery shopping, doing the laundry, being an accountant, whatever. Like it can feel sort of ordinary, and such is everything. But when it's touched by grace and the Lord, it becomes something like beautiful and extraordinary source of grace. And so I think there's an invitation there to continue to like invite the Lord into everything and to offer it to him and trust that he's the one who makes these things so like full of grace in life. And the second is and this is pretty particular, but I think this will resonate with some of our audience, right? There can be those who feel like, in a certain way, imprisoned. They can feel sort of imprisoned to like their house and taking care of the kids. They can feel imprisoned to like the 9-to-5 job, whatever. And in that is like they can feel like a lack of freedom. They can feel like maybe not being seen, things like that. And just like that's like how Jesus comes to us in the Eucharist, right? He in a sense, right, makes himself a prisoner of the tabernacle, and he's just there, and so many people don't see him, right? But I feel like there's a way in which we can bring that to him and find consolation in our own experiences of that like you let him hear, like, no, like I see it, I get it, like and just bring it to me. So those are maybe two particular invitations of what what the Lord can be saying through this episode. You guys got something here, Father PT?
I mean, I have more stuff. What are you trying to bring in for a landing?
Yeah, we can, if you have something.
No, just in particular, just to say, like, it's not magic. I think it's a little bit what Brother Colby was talking about. Brother Poby. But just to make time for him at the end of the day, and maybe this is the point you're driving home to, just because I'd like to. Anyway, it's just been a journey for myself, just to once again to make space for the Lord, and just to share a little personally. It's a crass way of putting it, but like Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament was like always like that girl next door, like just always there and never really appreciating like who he is, and like going to Mass on Sundays or going to Eucharistic retreats and just like, oh yeah, it's Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament again, and not really understanding truly who he is. And it wasn't until I actually spent time with him, and just like he's able, like I gave him access to my heart, like in a real and specific and in concrete way, that things started to change. Like, wow, okay, there's something deep here. And just a shout out real quick, Dr. Reardon, who I doubt's listening to this, but Ave Maria, he was teaching on the Eucharist and he was crying. And so like, anyway, so just kind of opened my eyes, like maybe there's something more here than me just going up to church and to Mass and like receiving the Eucharist in my hand and going back to my seat and stuff like that. Like, okay, like basically I wasn't treating the Eucharist as nonchalantly as I did before. And my heart was open to this reality that there's something more than what I see. Like there's something more than what I can perceive. And once that happened, like just things started moving my life in a different way. And the relationship between myself and Jesus deepened. And it continued to deepen throughout the years. And just like the scriptural reference, I think, is just Martha and Mary, right? Where they're both they're going towards this end of relationship with Jesus. And like at one point, Martha's like, hey, why can't Mary help? And Jesus, like, she's chosen the better portion. And this may be the better portion at particular times, right? To sit before the Blessed Sacrament, to sit in the presence of Jesus and just to let him love you and let him be with you. And sometimes you may have to be Martha, like doing work and stuff like that. But the beautiful thing is I think Jesus didn't want Martha to leave his presence, right? Like he still desired to be with her too. And so just I offer that also just in the sense of, yes, Eucharist is awesome. Being with Jesus is awesome. But like, once again, just opening up a space and being particular about the times in which you choose to stay before him. Maybe coming to Mass a little bit early, even though it's maybe a little bit loud or noisy, whatever it is. But just saying, hey, Lord, here I am and here you are. I just want to be with you, or maybe just like, yeah, just as a family thinking about, okay, like how are we during Mass or
even after Mass.
Yeah.
Like at Thanksgiving after Mass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is kind of for all those who are listening that have a big family, right? And sometimes you get like, I just really wish my kids could be better. And like the Lord sees you once again, like as you are, and he knows your struggle and he knows your desire to be like more quiet during Mass or like just have a prayerful experience. And he knows like how sensitive you are to like other people around you. And he just loves you in it. And so just like the most important thing is to not, even though it could be very distracting when you have a kid who's crying or like disruptive, to focus on that, but he's focused on you, and like he's happy that you're there, and he's once again desires for you to receive him in the Eucharist, obviously, but even more so just to be present to him as he's present to you. And so just to stay there, not to like walk down the road of shame of like, I wish it was better or whatever it is, but yeah. So
beautiful.
That's it.
The thing, maybe my closing comment is I love, Father Mark, when you said like the Eucharistic worldview. I was like, that's awesome. and it kind of is the invitation again to live a sacramental life, right? And like the definition of a sacrament is like this inbreaking of the presence of God in our lives, and the source and summit of that is the Eucharist, right? The Mass and our personal relationship with Jesus in the Eucharist. And just to know that's going to have a ripple effect. Like anytime we can make to be available to the Lord, and particularly before Mass, after Mass, during Mass, Adoration, like it's like Jesus is the medicine. Him in the Blessed Sacrament is the medicine for everything. But what happens, brothers, is that there's a real transformation that happens. Like you become like the one you love. Like when you adore Jesus, like you are like, and you receive him into your heart, you actually are transformed into the one you love. And so that's what we're going for. It actually changes me. The presence of Jesus in the Eucharist actually transforms me, right? It's not just something, okay, like I receive the Eucharist and then I like, okay, that felt nice. And like, I'm, food for the journey, and you kind of move on until the next time. But if we can ask just for this grace of faith to believe and this place of intimacy with the Lord, it transforms my life, and it changes me. The life of Jesus, the way he acts, his own virtues, his own love, his own mercy, like it actually transforms me. And that's what makes us Christian or disciples or even saints. It's Jesus doing this in me, right? So it's the fruit of it is like holiness. The fruit of it is union with God that overflows into the world. And so it's just beautiful to hold that all in relation. It's Jesus giving himself to me, but something happens, right? And then holiness changes the world. But we all believe that and know that it's this Eucharistic intimacy that is the source of that.
Any last words, Brother Colby?
Yeah. I just wanted to bounce back what Father PT said about the families. At the sisters' vows, there was a young family sitting to the right of me, and the kids were doing their thing, playing.
Yeah.
And I caught eyes with the mother, and she looked like I was wondering if I was upset at the noise. And after Mass, I just thanked her. I was like, "Thank you. Your kids are beautiful." It's beautiful to hear kids that are at Mass. Like they're there. So thank God. And another word. I was with Father Andrew Apostoli, and we were leaving somewhere, and I said goodbye to Jesus when we were leaving a chapel. He said, brother, don't say goodbye. Say, come with me, Jesus. Come with me, Jesus.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, we can close it with that. Brother Colby, would you be willing to end us in a prayer?
Sure. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. We thank you, Father, for the gift of our faith. We ask you to increase our faith and to bless everyone that hears us, that when we speak about Jesus, that their hearts may be opened more to his truth and his love for them. Grant them the grace to make ways to come and be with him. We thank you for our priests. We ask you to continue to bless them and protect them. We love you, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. What do you got, Father Innocent?
I want to say hi to Monica Vega. She was at the Sisters' Final Vow. She wrote us a little note. She just loves the podcast and sends the love to the brother. She's a secular Franciscan. Awesome.
Does she like it or love it?
She loves it. Sorry, she loves it.
Nice one. And hi to Maria. I met her in the airport yesterday, and her sister Choma, who I had a chance to FaceTime while we were there in the airport. It was kind of fun. Particularly, they're fans of Father PT. They miss you when you're not here.
Oh, thank you. I miss you guys too. I don't know
So,
you.
Maria,
But
thanks for saying hi. And Choma, thanks for listening. That's all I got for today.
Eric Figueroa. Just want to shout out Eric. Thank you for listening.
He's a good dude.
Eric, I saw, Eric, right? Bass player.
Yeah, of
Pentagon
course.
Army.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
It's funny. He was saying he actually enjoys the banter in the beginning and sometimes only listens to that. I was like, bro, no. Keep going. There's better stuff. Trust me. Past the banter. But
Maria liked it too. That's a nice one.
yeah. But anyway, shout out to Eric. And his beautiful family too.
That's what Brother Juan Francisco said when he met us because of the podcast. But he's like, yo, listen, it was It was funny. It was like the funny stuff, and then it was boring, and then it was funny again, and it was boring. So we got him.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Brother Colby, for
And
being
again-
here. You're awesome.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Brother Colby,
you
for being
guys.
here. Again, The Fire Within by Ignatius Press, Father Dubé. We'd love for you to get it so you can follow along as we work on it in a few weeks. Bye.
Peace.
Poco a poco vamos a llegar. Somos peregrinos, and you know that's who we are. We make our way. Hey, hey. Little by little, we learn a little more each day that God is love, that life is short, that all will be well. And I know.